The sun was just beginning to rise over the endless plains, painting the horizon in shades of gold and red. Dust hung in the air, sparkling faintly as the first light touched the earth. A lone rider, known only as Jack Tanner, guided his horse carefully across the rugged landscape. Jack was a cowboy, not just any cowboy, but one who had earned his reputation through courage and intelligence. He had an unshakable sense of direction, sharp instincts, and a mind that could solve problems that others would avoid. Jack's horse, a strong brown stallion named Rust, moved with steady rhythm. The open plains were beautiful but dangerous. There were bandits, wild animals, and the unpredictable moods of nature itself. Jack knew that every journey could become a challenge. He had been hired to deliver an important package to a town on the far edge of the frontier, a place where few dared to go. As he rode, Jack scanned the horizon. In the distance, he noticed a faint column of smoke curling into the sky. Curious, he adjusted his path toward it. Jack had learned long ago that curiosity and careful observation often saved lives. He approached cautiously, signaling Rust to slow. Soon he saw a small cabin partially hidden behind a cluster of rocks. Smoke was rising from its chimney, but the cabin looked abandoned. Jack dismounted and stepped quietly toward the cabin. His eyes were alert, noticing every detail: the scuffed wood, the footprints in the dirt, and the broken fence post. Someone had been here recently. He paused, listening carefully. There was a faint sound of movement inside, almost like a shuffle. Jack's hand instinctively moved toward the handle of his revolver, but he did not draw it yet. This was not the time for mistakes. Opening the door slowly, he peered inside. The cabin was small and sparse, with a single table and 2 chairs. On the table lay an envelope, marked with a strange symbol he had never seen before. Jack picked it up carefully. The paper was thick and heavy, like it contained more than just words. Then he noticed something else, a small, intricate device made of metal and glass, humming faintly. His eyebrows raised. This was no ordinary frontier object. It was something advanced beyond what anyone in this town could create. Before he could examine it further, a shadow moved across the doorway. Jack spun around, revolver ready. A young woman stood there, her eyes wide with fear and curiosity. She was dressed in practical frontier clothing, her hair tied back, and she held a small satchel tightly against her chest. "Who are you?" Jack asked calmly, keeping his weapon steady. I'm Clara," she replied. "I didn't expect anyone here. Please don't hurt me." Jack lowered his gun slightly but kept his guard up. "I wouldn't hurt anyone who isn't a threat." "Why are you here?" Clara glanced nervously at the device on the table. "I found it in the hills. It's not from around here. I don't know what it is, but some people are looking for it, and I think it's dangerous." Jack studied her carefully. Her eyes were honest and sincere, not hiding anything. He could tell she wasn't lying. "Dangerous, you say?" he asked. "Then we need to be careful. Do you know where it came from?" Clara shook her head. "No. I only know it was buried in a cave far to the north. I wanted to bring it here where it would be safe, but now I think they're following me." Jack's mind raced. Whoever was following her must have resources, and if the device was advanced, it could be powerful. "We can't stay here," he said. "We need to move. I know a place about 50 miles west where we can hide and figure out what this is." Clara nodded, relief flickering across her face. Together they left the cabin. Jack led the way, keeping his senses alert to any sign of danger. As they rode, he learned more about Clara. She was clever, brave, and quick-thinking, someone who could handle herself in tough situations. Jack appreciated that. On the frontier, intelligence was as valuable as strength, and Clara had plenty of it. The journey was long and the terrain was difficult. Rocky hills gave way to dry plains where the sun beat down relentlessly. Jack and Clara traveled cautiously, avoiding main trails and settlements. They had to be careful. Anyone watching from a distance could be a threat. Jack taught Clara how to read the signs of the land, the tracks of animals, the direction of the wind, even the subtle hints left by other humans. She learned quickly, her sharp mind catching details that might have escaped others. One evening, as they set up a small camp under the shade of a lone tree, Clara spoke quietly. "Jack, then why do you help me? You don't even know what this device is." Jack smiled faintly. "Because it's the right thing to do. And because humans, we have a way of facing challenges that others might not understand. Sometimes courage isn't just about fighting. It's about thinking, observing, and acting wisely. That's what makes people special." Clara nodded, her respect for him growing. I think I understand now. The night passed quietly, but Jack remained alert. He noticed shadows moving in the distance, subtle signs that someone or something was following them. The frontier was never truly safe, and he knew that their journey was far from over. At dawn, they resumed their ride. Jack led them toward a narrow canyon, a place few travelers would think to enter. The canyon's walls were steep and the path was winding, but it offered safety in its isolation. As they rode deeper, Jack spotted tracks in the dust, recent human footprints. He motioned to Clara to dismount and follow him quietly. They crept along the canyon edge, hidden from view. Soon they saw a small group of men approaching, armed and clearly searching for something. Jack recognized the determination in their movements. These were not ordinary bandits. They were organized, well-prepared, and clearly after the device Clara had found. Jack whispered to Clara, "Stay behind me and be ready. We might have to move fast." The men passed just a few yards away, unaware of the pair hidden in the shadows. Jack waited until they were out of sight before leading Clara further into the canyon. Their hearts pounded, but Jack's confidence never wavered. He had faced danger before, and he knew that careful planning and quick thinking could turn the odds in their favor. By midday, they reached a hidden cave at the far end of the canyon. Jack had found it on a previous journey, and it was perfect for hiding. He led Clara inside and secured the entrance with heavy rocks. The cave was dark and cool, a welcome relief from the blazing sun outside. Inside, Jack examined the device again. It was delicate, humming faintly with energy. He could feel that it was more than just a machine. It had intelligence in a way that suggested it was not of earthly origin. "Clara," he said, "we need to understand what this is before we make any move. If the wrong people get their hands on it, it could be disastrous." Clara nodded. "I agree, but how do we even begin?" Jack smiled faintly. "We start by observing. We watch, we study, and we prepare. That's what humans do best. Even out here on the frontier, we can face challenges that seem impossible, and we can find solutions that no one else can." As the sun set outside, painting the sky in orange and purple, Jack and Clara settled in. They were far from safe, but they were together and they had each other's skills. In the wild frontier, that was sometimes enough. For now, they would watch, wait, and prepare. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new discoveries, and perhaps the first steps toward understanding the mysterious device. One thing was certain. The frontier was a place where courage, intelligence, and the human spirit could shine brighter than any danger. And Jack Tanner, the lone cowboy, was determined to see that light guide them through the unknown. The first light of dawn crept into the hidden cave, scattering shadows across the walls. Jack Tanner was already awake, carefully examining the mysterious device. Its faint hum seemed almost alive, and the intricate patterns of metal and glass puzzled even him. Clara stirred beside him, rubbing her eyes and glancing at the object with curiosity. "We can't stay here forever," Clara said softly. "If they find this place, we'll be trapped." Jack nodded. "I know, but rushing into action without understanding what we're dealing with could be worse. Out here on the frontier, patience is just as important as courage." He ran his fingers over the device again, studying its surfaces. "It's not like anything I've seen," he murmured. "Some of the designs look mechanical, but there's more. Almost like it has a mind of its own." Clara frowned. "A mind? You mean it's alive?" Jack shook his head. "Not exactly alive, but it responds. Watch." He touched a small panel on the device, and it glowed faintly, producing a soft sequence of lights. Jack studied the pattern, realizing it was like a language, but not one he could read immediately. It's trying to communicate somehow. The sound of movement outside the cave made both of them tense. Jack stood and signaled for Clara to follow. Together they pressed against the cave wall, peering out through a small opening. The group of men from the previous day was still searching, moving cautiously through the canyon. They had split into pairs, scanning every rock and crevice. Jack recognized the leader, a tall man with a sharp gaze and quick movements. "They won't give up," Jack whispered. "We need a plan." Clara glanced at him nervously. "What can we do?" There are too many of them. Jack thought quickly. We don't need to fight them head-on. We need to make them think we've vanished. He led Clara deeper into the cave until they reached a narrow tunnel. The tunnel twisted and turned, barely wide enough for them to squeeze through, but it eventually opened into a small chamber where Jack had hidden supplies on a previous trip. They filled their satchels with food and water, and Jack took a coil of rope, knowing it might help them escape if things went wrong. Now, he said quietly, we wait for the right moment. We'll use the canyon to our advantage. Hours passed slowly. Jack and Clara kept watch while the men searched outside, growing increasingly frustrated. The frontier was unforgiving, but Jack's knowledge of the land allowed him to predict the men's movements. Using shadows, rocks, and the natural twists of the canyon, they stayed hidden. By mid-afternoon, the men began to leave, convinced the cave was empty. Jack waited until they were out of sight, then led Clara to the canyon's edge. From this vantage point, he could see the wide plains stretching beyond, dotted with shrubs and scattered rocks. We move fast, Jack said. There's a river not far from here. If we reach it, we can follow the current and lose them in the forest beyond. They won't know which way we went. Clara mounted Rust carefully, her confidence growing. Jack rode ahead, scanning the terrain. Every instinct he had learned as a cowboy guided him, reading the wind, noticing small disturbances in the ground, and understanding how animals moved. The frontier had taught him to see details others would miss. The ride to the river was tense. The men had not given up yet, and Jack could feel the danger lingering in the air. But Clara proved capable. She followed his instructions exactly, keeping Rust quiet and calm. Together, they made it to the river by late afternoon. The water flowed swiftly, carrying them toward the dense forest beyond. Jack guided them into the trees, using the forest to hide their movements. He could hear the men searching behind them, calling out names and tracking footprints. But the forest was dense, and the winding paths made it difficult to follow. By evening, they had created enough distance to feel slightly safer. They set up a small camp under the canopy of the trees. The device still hummed softly, and Jack placed it on a flat rock. Clara watched him as he examined it. I don't understand it, she said. Why would something so advanced end up out here in the middle of nowhere? Jack thought carefully. Sometimes the frontier attracts things people can't explain. It's empty, unpredictable, and wild. Humans survive here because we can adapt, think, and use our skills in ways others can't. That's why I believe we can handle this. As night fell, the forest came alive with sounds, rustling leaves, distant cries, and the subtle movements of creatures unseen. Jack kept a watchful eye on their surroundings. Clara sat beside him, still learning the patience and alertness required in the frontier. She realized that survival was not about brute strength alone. It was about intelligence, timing, and courage. During the night, the device suddenly emitted a series of bright pulses, lighting up the area with a soft glow. Jack and Clara watched in awe. The pulses formed patterns almost like they were pointing somewhere. Jack leaned closer, studying the sequences. It's leading us, he whispered. Clara's eyes widened. Leading us? But where? Jack didn't answer immediately. He felt a mix of excitement and caution. We'll find out at first light, he said. It's guiding us to something important, I can feel it, and we need to be ready for whatever comes next. When the sun rose, Jack packed their supplies and placed the device carefully in his satchel. They followed its faint glow deeper into the forest. The path was tricky. Twisting roots, fallen branches, and hidden streams made travel slow. But Jack's skills allowed them to move efficiently, finding the safest routes while avoiding danger. Hours later, they emerged into a small clearing. In the center stood a strange structure, half buried and overgrown with vines. It looked unlike anything from the frontier, metallic, smooth, and perfectly formed. The device in Jack's satchel pulsed strongly, as if reacting to the presence of the structure. Clara stepped forward, her voice quiet. What is that? Jack examined it carefully. I don't know, but it's clearly linked to the device. And judging by the way it reacts, it might be the source of its power, or its purpose. They approached cautiously. Jack's mind raced, thinking of every possibility. If others found this structure, it could be dangerous. But if they studied it carefully, it could reveal secrets no human had ever seen. He remembered what he had always believed. Humans were special because of their ability to adapt, think, and act when faced with the unknown. Suddenly the air shifted. A faint hum echoed through the clearing and the structure began to glow faintly. Jack stepped forward holding the device. The two seemed to resonate, and a small panel opened on the structure, revealing an interior filled with complex machinery. Clara gasped. "It's alive. Or at least it's intelligent somehow." Jack nodded. "Yes. And we need to learn from it, not fear it. That's what humans do best. We face the unknown and figure it out." They entered carefully, exploring the interior. Panels lit up as they approached, and symbols moved across surfaces in patterns that seemed logical but unfamiliar. Jack studied them, using logic and deduction to understand the signals. Clara helped, observing details he might have missed. Together, their combined human intelligence began to make sense of the mysterious system. Hours passed as they worked, deciphering patterns and learning how the structure responded. By evening, they had uncovered a key piece of information. The structure was a storage unit, holding knowledge and technology from a civilization far beyond the frontier. It had been buried long ago, hidden from the world, and now it had chosen to reveal itself to humans who were capable of understanding and respecting it. Jack smiled, a sense of awe in his eyes. This is incredible. We've found something no one else could have. It's a reminder that humans can rise to any challenge if we think, observe, and work together." Clara nodded, her excitement matched by her respect for Jack. "We really are special," she said quietly. As night fell, they camped near the structure, ready to continue their exploration the next day. Jack knew their journey was only beginning, but he felt confident. Out here on the frontier, with courage, intelligence, and determination, humans could face the unknown and thrive. The stars twinkled above, and the wind whispered through the trees, carrying the promise of adventure, discovery, and the endless possibilities that lay ahead for those brave enough to seek them. Jack Tanner and Clara had survived the dangers of the canyon, outsmarted their pursuers, and uncovered a mystery that would change their lives forever. And through it all, the frontier had proven once again that humans, even in the wildest places, could shine brighter than any challenge they faced.